Now, as to multiculturalism, and I think this is really important that we get the definitions of these words right, particularly here in Australia, because I get a slight sense that you use that word in a different way to us. Here is what I think we ought to mean when we use these terms. We are living in multi-ethnic societies.
Yes.
That means that we have people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities who may have been born or whose parents may have been born in other places, who look different. And those societies, I actually think, have the potential to be stronger than monoethnic societies in some ways. Even in biology, there's this concept of hybrid vigor. When you have racial mixing, it produces offspring that has the benefits of both sides. So the idea that we need an ethno-state that is entirely monolithic, I think, is excessive. Our societies that have a mixture of people can be very successful and very cohesive if we take the best from the different cultures and the different backgrounds of people. We have the talented people who've come from all over the world to our societies to contribute. But the only way that works is that we have monoculturalism, not multiculturalism, where everyone is encouraged to stick to their own and think the way that their parents thought in the country from which they came. It works if there's an overarching identity, and we say, I may have been born in Russia, you may have been born in Australia, Suella Braverman was born in London, but her parents were born in different parts of the world. And we all come to Britain, and we become British. It does not mean that we must force people to reject their heritage at the door. But what it does mean is, as my parents said to me, I remember when I came to school in the UK, my parents discovered that there was a clique of Russian speakers that I started hanging out with, and they said to me, well, in that case, we're going to have to move schools. And I, what do you mean? I've just found these friends. And they were like, look, you didn't come here to be a Russian in Britain. You came here to become part of this society. And multiculturalism has failed because it has failed to recognize the difference between a multi-ethnic society where everyone is encouraged to become one thing and a society where we have no desire for you to integrate. You want to speak a different language? Fine. You want to practice a completely different cultural set of values and beliefs about all sorts of different issues that actually matter? Fine. You want to have a different approach to, you want to start advocating for a different legal system in our society? Fine. You want to undermine the very basic values of the way that we do things? Fine. You want to live entirely within a community that looks like you and speaks a different language and is completely ghettoized? Fine. This doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it creates tensions between ethnic groups. And so this conversation about multiculturalism is going to become particularly strong in countries like Britain, France. I mean, Sweden has gone very far down the route of allowing people simply to come and live in parallel societies. Multiculturalism has failed because it cannot work. It simply cannot work. And in fact, it's, coming back to our conversation about Russia, this is by no means me saying we should be emulating Russia, but actually this idea of kind of having an overarching identity probably works better in Russia at this point, when you have Muslim populations and populations from other religious backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds who are much more integrated in some ways. They may live in their own parts of the country, historically, that were theirs, but they would see themselves as part of the Russian project in a way that many people in some communities in the West do not.